everybody? Happy morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching this from. Welcome back to another Tech Tuesday. I got Joey on the line with me, and we have some interesting stuff to talk about this week. A lot of contradictory things that I think are really interesting. How are you doing, Joey?
Good. Yeah, just wrapping up the work day here. I'm excited to get back on the Tech Tuesday
Call it
side of
whatever you
things here
want.
with you for the second week in a row. But yeah,
Podcast, not really a podcast.
mm-hmm.
We'll get there eventually. So the first one I want to talk about, because I was laughing my butt off whenever I read this. It was an article somewhere on the internet titled like "Solar Power Hits a Snag, Environmentalists," and I'm like, all right, what is this going to be? So I know we're everyone's all hot on solar, and even though I'm a nuclear guy, I'm sure not many people are, but totally would have changed the world if we would have gone with that instead of electric.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, the whole point of this was like, it was talking about how there were these massive solar fields out in California and Arizona. And as they're being put up, they're like, all right, so we're going to try to make this entire town all solar powered. And the people who didn't want it were like the people who got it set up. So they're sitting there, they're like, yeah, we don't want to burn gas anymore. Let's do solar. And so they're like, okay. And so the industrial people came in, built the solar fields, and they're like, yeah, we don't want it. Our backyards aren't pretty anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's
Right.
Hilarious. That's typically how things work, though, huh?
It's
People
kind of
want one thing and then it happens, and then all of a sudden, they don't want it anymore. You always want what you can't have or what you don't have.
It's true. I know down here in Florida especially, there's a lot of solar panels on houses, probably less so on multifamily. I would have to confirm that because I actually don't know. But I know industrial hasn't caught up to that. But like as far as suburban housing, there's a ton. I don't know how it is in the Northeast up by you though.
Yeah, you don't see them a whole lot up here, mostly because we rarely see the sun, mostly cloudy days. It's gray outside right now again, shocker.
Yeah.
But when would you say you started seeing them pop up down there in Florida?
It was like 10 years ago. I remember it
10
too
years
because
ago?
I saw it and I was like, oh man, the future's here. And then it's 10 years later and I'm like, yeah, we're another 10 years out from adopting it. And it's probably not going to be solar power either. I don't fully believe in that. It just
You don't think it's a trend that's going to catch on and become, like every household's going to have it?
Well, I was listening to my boys over at the Animal Spirits podcast that I love so much, and what they were talking about is they said, well, so pretty much every like 5-year increment, it gets better, it gets more efficient, but we're just like the amount of energy that you suck in through the solar and reproduce as actual energy has just it's exponentially grown, but it hasn't caught up nearly enough, and it's gonna be wild. I mean, wind is another one. Like, although okay, so well. Side story. So down at Florida Gulf Coast, they have a massive solar field. It's enormous. And I found out my junior year, 3 years later, it powers one building. Like that's literally
Really?
Yeah, and not even during the hottest summer months. So,
Oh my gosh.
yep,
That's crazy.
it's
Only
nuts.
one building in a whole solar field. I feel like that's a lot of, I don't know, a lot of land you're taking up just to power one building there.
A ton. And you have to think about now with all as people, the big snag we hit with the cryptocurrencies recently was like, it costs so much energy to mine and produce them. Like there's so much electricity being funneled into these computers to solve the algorithms. That burns more. We're kind of just putting ourselves backwards, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
And
crazy.
you brought up an interesting point about the wind power there. Just kind of circling back to that, because I remember maybe a month ago or so,
Mhm.
whenever those big ice storms and winter blast hit Texas
In
and
Texas.
the whole Midwest. I remember I was making my sales calls and called a customer. I forget where they were, Arkansas or Alabama, but regardless, they didn't have any power because all the wind turbines were froze over. So they had to use little portable generators just to power their houses and stuff. And I forget why the lady I was talking to went into work that day, but yeah, she was telling me about how since all their electricity comes from their wind turbines, and the turbines themselves froze. It was so cold they had no electricity.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about that, you can talk about how Texas literally, that happened 10 years before that. And everyone was like, all right, shore up your infrastructure. And Texas was like, we'd rather not pay the taxes. And, I'm anti-tax in every way possible, but I hate to say they brought it upon themselves because people died, and that is in such poor taste, but like they really had a good chance to do that and they just didn't.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess that's how it goes whenever your whole or your whole power grid is not. There's no fail safe.
Yeah,
You don't have a
we have to
backup.
get on that at some point.
Mhm.
We really do.
Definitely.
Our infrastructure is so weak. Oh, and the other thing, so we're obviously recording this on Monday. It's coming out Tuesday tomorrow. But so this was a big headline today. There was a nonprofit, and this kind of goes along with like the theme of this past week or so. It was a nonprofit called One Treasure Island. I think it was up in New York because it's after like Staten Island. I don't know, something like that. But either way, so the nonprofit got hacked for like $650,000, and that is not like, there's been so many in the past 2 months recent like hackings, and you have to wonder, when the heck are we going to fix that? Because it's only going to get worse until we do something.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, I actually got my stuff hacked on Amazon this past week.
Yikes.
Believe it or not, it was an old Amazon account I didn't even remember I had. Must have been made off of an email I had when I was in middle school. Maybe it was my original college email I got my freshman year, but my debit card and my credit card were both on there. And I had Bedtime Grooves Volume 13 show up to my house today. It was a CD that cost $98, and it was sent with UPS 2-day shipping for an additional $10. So I paid $108 for that all in total.
Wow.
And obviously disputed that, got my money back, and had to switch all my bank accounts over. But I also saw I've been paying for someone else's Amazon Prime since June of last year.
Oh my God, I should probably check all that.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, definitely the hacking and the security leak is definitely an issue on all platforms. I mean, and when this happened to me, I did a little bit of research and saw you don't even hear much about it anymore because it's become so common. Amazon had a security leak. I forget if it was in March or February of this year. And, X amount of accounts, their data and information was corrupted and stolen. And you don't even hear about it because so many people have Amazon accounts. What are the odds you're one of the 100,000 whose, information got taken?
Yeah.
But they happen so frequently. I mean, eventually something's going to hit you. And I'm just assuming on a whim here that, either this time or one of the previous times, somehow someone got one of my Amazon accounts passwords and login, got in there and sent me Bedroom Grooves Volume 13.
That has to narrow down who could have done it though. Like there's only so many people. I have two thoughts on that. So the first one is my roommate and obviously a best friend that we both know, their company got hacked and shut them down for a week and a half because they basically had they had a like stranglehold over their internal servers. That's not good. I mean, it's not a massive company, but you have to think if it's one of the ones that has any control over your life, that just could be dangerous. And the second thought was like, where the technology has failed, the financial sector has totally made up for it because it is so flippin' easy to literally just go on and be like, I didn't order that or I didn't pay for that. And they just immediately refund you. Like the credit card's canceled, they get a new one in 2 days. It's like cake.
Yeah, it was instantaneous. I called when the charge posted, I called my bank, said, I didn't order this. And within 10 seconds, I had my $100-some back in my account available for me to use.
I love it.
I mean, it was way easier than I had anticipated. And like you were saying about the larger companies getting hacked, I mean, sure, if it's, one miscellaneous business that doesn't really affect the general public, that's one thing. But then what happens when a major banking network gets hacked or something like that? Because, if the security isn't increased or, nothing changes in the next couple of years, I definitely feel like we're at risk for a major cybersecurity national crisis. I don't know.
If they hit Stanley or Schwab or any of those, oh man, that would compromise so many accounts. That would be awful.
Yeah. It would be a disaster. And then you spend so many resources trying to recover all those accounts and people's, personal data and information. And I mean, I can't even fathom the type of destruction that would end up doing to people's lives.
Well, on the happier note, blockchain is going to fix all of it. Betting on it, calling it now. Blockchain forever.
Mm-hmm. Blockchain, their encryption software is a lot more sophisticated than using. I can't even think of the word. It was a long day at work today.
I have no
Using
idea.
cryptocurrency and blockchain as your wallet is a lot more encrypted and safer, is what I'm trying to say, than using like a traditional broker, right? Or
yeah,
a bank.
I know what you mean. So the people who are so against it always say, they're like, oh, look at this person who lost $1 million and all his cryptocurrencies. And like, well, it's because he bought Asscoin. Like they went on and they buy these stupid things through people who they have no idea who they are. So I was liken it to this because I mean, I count the cryptocurrency is interesting because I count it as both technology and like economic financial stuff. So we can do a little bit of both here. But I liken it to this as like when you were a kid, did you ever put your hand on the stove when it was hot?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say that happened once or twice.
Oh, once or twice for you. My point of that was, how many times do you learn that lesson? It's just once.
Took twice.
Yeah, seriously, it's
No,
that might be
no,
a you
once. I
personal
got
problem.
you. You miss the little red light that's on, and then it catches you by surprise.
Exactly, and
But
then it's a good point. You learn to look for the red light or the fact that the whole stove is lit up red. So I say this, it's like, for all these people who are losing all this money, I was like, you burn your hand once, you're going to be so much more careful in the future. It's a blessing in disguise.
definitely. And you going back to talking about Ask Coin, it's funny, you see all these people
Or any of them.
riding the Dogecoin wave. I actually saw something. People also, if anyone's watching this, do not take your financial advice from TikTok. I see so many people talking about finances on TikTok, whether they tell you to buy houses or think they can tell you how to flip. They make it sound so easy. You can buy 4 houses, flip them in 1 month, and then all of a sudden you're financially free and don't have to work another day in your life. That is such bullshit and such a
3 months
dumbed
ago, you
down
could have
version
done
of
that.
it.
Probably not now, though.
Yeah, definitely not in today's housing market, but that is such a watered down version of it. I mean, they make anything sound so easy, but I had seen a TikTok talking about like potato moon coin or something, or maybe it was moon potato coin. And this kid's like, I bought all this, and in 30 days, I've already made X amount of thousands of dollars. Go get potato moon right now, but you can't get it on this stock exchange, and you can't get it on this. You got to download this and install it from this website. And it sounded so shady. I mean, that's when you're playing with fire, as we were talking about with the burner. And I mean, it's basically a fake. Like Dogecoin is not real.
No.
You're putting your money into something that could easily plummet tomorrow.
I have that conversation all the time. Especially, the funny thing is, I usually have it with older folks, and I say older, I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm talking about pretty much anyone over the age of 40. I take it however you want, but so they're pretty much, their whole thing, they're like, it blows their mind. They're like, what is this, and why are people paying so much money for it? And I'm like, you've been around a while. A thing is only worth what someone else will pay for it. It's not physically worth that. It's only worth that because some 16-year-old takes his allowance and says, yeah, it's worth $300. Absolutely. It's the whole point. I mean, it's kind of goofy.
Yep.
It's the great resurgence of the .com bubble once more, or maybe not. Who knows? Things are shifting. Well, I think that's probably what we're going to get out of today. We did actually cover a lot. I like 10 minutes for these. We might do like 15 at some point, but I think this is a pretty healthy serving for the week. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. 10 minutes works. And I think it's, just a bite enough to be informational and entertaining without, people tuning out. So I think it's perfect for now.
Right. And you totally called me out. I'm absolutely definitely going to go on TikTok and start giving financial advice.
Do it. Hey, I got to be careful with what I like, because if I like too many financial talks, all of a sudden I'm getting advice from every 22-year-old that thinks they have the keys to financial freedom.
Absolutely.
So,
oh man, yeah, it's funny. Once you learn how to trick the algorithm, you can start getting what you want. It's like I regularly talk to my phone like, show me discount Mustang parts. It hasn't yet, but it will eventually.
Yep. Next thing I know, dude, my TikTok's telling me to buy X amount of shares of AMC and GameStop.
Oh no.
It's like, all the way. You can get on. We're going to the moon. And next thing you know, you're broke.
I love it. All right. Okay. I'll talk to you next week, Joey. This was fun.
Yep. Sounds good.
See you, everybody.